Hello, everyone. This is Lauren Steiner from the Robust Opposition. I'm doing a voter's guide tonight, and I am just going to tell you right off the bat that I'm not an expert on any of these things. This is very subjective. I have my own personal opinions about some of these candidates, some of these ballot measures, and some of these current elected officials. And otherwise, I've gone to some other progressive voter guides, like the Knock LA guide from Ground Game, and the Future Left guide, and DSA's guide. And unfortunately, the LA Progressive guide, which I do write for the LA Progressive, I don't think is progressive at all, except in their endorsement of Bernie Sanders. So I have to discount most of the establishment Democrats that they endorsed. I'm going to be looking at my sample ballot because obviously I want to talk about my own district first. And I'm in Congressional District 33, Assembly District 50. And I'm going to go through this ballot, and then I'm going to go on to some other Los Angeles races, which other people have advised me about, as well as races for Democratic County Committee. So if you are a registered Democrat, you can vote for county committee. I am no party preference, so I can't, but I do have some information on that. So starting off on my sample ballot, the member of the state assembly that I plan to vote for in CA 50 is Richard Bloom, because he has been a very good housing advocate. He put forward the first bill, it was either last year or 2 years ago, to overturn Costa-Hawkins. So I do support Richard Bloom, and I've had a very good time, a very easy time working with his office. I find his deputies to be very accessible. For congressperson in District 33, my current representative is Ted Lieu, and that's an interesting story because I contributed when he ran the first time in 2014. I contributed $100 to him at a fundraiser at Paul Song's house because he assured me that he was against fracking, he was against the TPP, and he was in favor of net neutrality. But then after in 2014, when you had Operation Cast Lead or Protective Edge, I forget which one it was in 2014, and Hamas lobbed some ineffectual rockets into Israel, and Israel responded disproportionately. Ted Lieu sent out a direct mail piece on Rosh Hashanah with a picture of a rabbi on the front of it, saying there should be a resolution to condemn Hamas. And I was so outraged by that. And then I watched him on a live stream debating his Republican opponent, and he said that people that support BDS are anti-Semitic bigots. And seeing as I support BDS and I'm Jewish, must mean that I'm a self-hating Jew. So after that, I just couldn't vote for him. And I didn't vote for him again in 2016. And in 2018, I didn't vote for him because I was so disgusted with his Russiagate. And he also voted against the Iran deal, by the way. I was so disgusted with his Russia, and his spending all his time tweeting against Donald Trump. I just didn't support him. So I'm inclined not to support him again, even though he had a tweet over the weekend that was very favorable without mentioning Bernie Sanders' name. It was kind of positive for Bernie Sanders. And I'm sorry I didn't call up the tweet, but I will put it in the comments. So even though he did that, I still am going to recommend as a protest vote, a vote for someone I know, Liz Barris. And Liz Barris is an anti-5G activist, and she's been made very ill by smart meters in her community of Topanga. She, along with Julie Levine, who also lives in Topanga, have been the two biggest leaders of the movement to fight 5G. And I've done a couple of shows on it. I'm not going to get into it now. But if you live in CD 33 and you don't want to vote for Ted Lieu, I would urge you to vote for Liz Barris, Barris. Now, District Attorney, I'm supporting Rachel Rossi. I know that Jackie Lacey has got to go. And I know that George Gascon has gotten a lot of positive recommendations, but I did read something in 48 Hills, which is a publication from Northern California, where he used to be the district attorney, that he did not prosecute a cop killer. I really just feel much more comfortable with having a public defender like Rachel Rossi in that office. I had Chesa Boudin on my show. We know that a lot of public defenders are running for DA, and they're really remaking the DA's office. So it's not so much about punishment and more about rehabilitation, and also not just prosecuting more white collar crime, et cetera, et cetera. So I support Rachel Rossi for DA. Now, the judges, I did not do any of this research on the judges, so I'm going by some different voter guides and people that I respect. So in the office number 17, the person who is currently the judge is a deputy district attorney, Shannon Kathleen. Well, I shouldn't say currently. She is not, has no opposition. And she's a deputy district attorney. Her name is Shannon Kathleen Cooley. I know nothing about her, so I can't say, and I haven't seen in any of these progressive voter guides anyone recommending a vote for her. Maybe they're just assuming that people will vote for her because she has no competition, but I don't want to say that, so I'm leaving that blank. The next one, which is office number 42, I am voting for Linda Sun, S-U-N, who is a deputy district attorney, and she is turning up in all of the progressive voter guides. Office number 72, Mayana Dellinger. She's a law professor and an attorney. And number 76, I don't have a recommendation there. I know a lot of people are voting for Emily Cole, but I had a very good friend of mine who's been advising me. He kind of likes this Judge Mike Cummins, who is not he was a judge, and he actually changed his first name to Judge so that people would see that he was a judge, because unless he's a current judge, he can't put that in his identification. Anyway, I read that he was rated not qualified by the American Bar Association. My friend questions their recommendations, but I'm just not going to endorse in that because I don't know enough. But I will tell you that a lot of establishment Democratic clubs are endorsing this Emily Cole. So now in office number 80, all the progressives seem to like Clint James McKay. He's an administrative law judge in California Department of Social Services. Office 97, this is another one where I can't make a recommendation. Apparently there's this Timothy Rubin, who's a attorney business owner. I think he spent $500,000 on this race. And then Sherry Powell, who's the deputy district attorney. Originally, people were endorsing Sherry Powell because they thought Rubin was a Republican. Now they know he's not a Republican, so they're removing their endorsement of Powell, and they don't know, they're reviewing the race. So I don't know at this point. I'm just leaving this one blank. That's office number 97. Office number 129, Kenneth Fuller, who is a deputy district attorney, seems to be getting the nod from everyone, so I'm blacked in his bubble. Number 131, nobody's making a recommendation. Again, this is an uncontested office. It's Michelle Kelly, a deputy district attorney. I can't vote for someone unless I know about them. I don't know what kind of record she has, if she's of the, Jackie Lacey School of District Attorneys, so I'm not going to vote in that one. Same thing with office number 141. Lana Kim is running uncontested, so I don't know anything about her record, so I'm not going to vote in that one. Judge in the office of number 145, everyone likes Troy Slaten, S-L-A-T-E-N. He's an attorney and a legal commentator. Office number 150, Tom Parsekian, P-A-R-S-E-K-I-A-N. He's an attorney and a mediator. He gets the nod from a lot of groups. And finally, Judge of the Superior Court, office number 162. One group I like, I listen to, supports Scott Andrew Yang. One person I was talking to supports Carrie Annette Harper, but two different organizations support David Diamond, who's an attorney adjunct professor. So I guess I'm going to go with David Diamond. So you can see I'm not researching these judges myself. I'm really just kind of curating other progressive guides for you. Now, member of the County Central Committee, District 50, which is my district, there is a progressive slate. And I want to talk about this a little bit because I'm not endorsing the whole slate. And I want to also tell you that not everyone on this slate is a Bernie Sanders supporter. But I was assured by the Bernie Sanders supporter, who I've known since 2004, that they are all pro-housing. And the other slate is financed by the YIMBYs, who are for SB 50 and are very much against good housing policy. So those members that I am supporting, in addition to Dina Eaglesrud, I'm sorry, Dina, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I've known you since 2014. I don't know if it's Eaglesrud or Eaglesrud, but Igelsrud. And Eddie Mendoza, who is an environmental advocate. Allison Stern-Simard, who is Paul Koretz's deputy. She does his communications. Mike Soloff, who is an attorney and a housing commissioner. Paul Koretz, who is my city council member. And even though he didn't seem to want to endorse Bernie Sanders, I heard he was kind of favoring Joe Biden. I do like Paul Koretz. He's been a great council member. I love his environmental bills. He's been very accessible to me. In fact, I'm having lunch with him on March 3rd to discuss some things I would like him to implement regarding the environment and housing. And then Jeff Ebenstein, who also works for Paul Koretz. Now, the one that I am not supporting, who is in that slate, and I'm going to explain in detail why I'm not supporting her, is Dorothy Reich. The national election. Well, of course, duh, President Bernie Sanders. Do I even need to say that to anyone? I'm sure everyone who's watching me is voting for Bernie Sanders. And if you're not, you can unfollow me right now. No, seriously, I don't want to make a case for Bernie Sanders. That would take 3 hours. But obviously, I love Bernie. I ran LA for Bernie. I was a delegate for him. I did ballots for Bernie. I'm doing Bernie-centric programming this entire election. And I think everybody should vote for Bernie. So now we go to the congressional districts. Okay, so I'm going to name some people who I don't know that were recommended by other progressive groups. And if I don't have an opinion, I'll tell you, or if I do have an opinion, well, obviously. So Democratic District 23, the progressive seems to like Kim Mangone, M-A-N-G-O-N-E. I don't know her, but people seem to like her. 26, Julia Brownlee is the current representative. I've never liked her. I think she votes like a Republican. People say she's got a very conservative district there in Ventura, and she does the best she can. But she's been on the wrong side of a lot of things, legislation that I've fought for, she's been against, or vice versa. So I wouldn't vote for her if I lived there, but maybe somebody else who lives in her district could write in the comments why they support her if they support her. 27 is Judy Chu. She's up in the San Gabriel Valley area. I think she's been very progressive. She's being recommended by a lot of progressive groups, and I do support her. 28, of course, is Adam Schiff. I'm not an Adam Schiff fan. I know he's the darling of the resistance because of his role in trying to take down Trump, which he didn't do. But I don't support him. I haven't heard of this opponent that people are recommending. Her name is Maybe Girl, Maebegirl, but people are recommending her. So if you want to vote against Adam Schiff, you can vote for Maybe Girl. District 29 is Tony Cardenas. He is not a progressive, in my opinion. He's very establishment. And my friend and fellow Bernie delegate Angelica Duenas is running against him. So I urge a vote for Angelica. Dueneas. Sorry. District 30 is Brad Sherman. I don't think Brad Sherman is very progressive. I think he's establishment. Last time I supported John Pelzer. This time I'm supporting another Berner who's running against him, who is C.J. Barina. Number 32 is Grace Napolitano. I'm not familiar with her record. A lot of progressives seem to like this Emmanuel Gonzalez. So I would just say people that are in District 32, if you want to make some comments about Grace or her opponent, feel free. I don't know enough about it. 33, I've just said Liz Barris. 34, Jimmy Gomez. I think he has a progressive voting record. I think he surprised a lot of people. People I know ran against him before. This year, Frances Motowala is running against him, and I'm going to support her because she's got a great platform, and a lot of other progressive groups are supporting her too. 35 is Norma Torres. I think she's kind of conservative. I remember we could not get her to come out against TPP fast track. I don't know who's running against her. The progressive guides don't have a recommendation. Maybe she's running unopposed, but I certainly wouldn't. If I lived in her district, I don't think I'd be supporting her. 37 is Karen Bass. Karen Bass is good. I like her. You know, I didn't like the fact that she had Russiagator spook Malcolm Nance at her town hall after Trump was elected, propagating that Russiagate stuff. But then I had a private meeting with her and about 6 other people, and it turns out she's a lot more radical than you would think she is. So I think she's served her district very well. She started out as a community organizer during the LA civil unrest back in 1992. So I would support her. Now, Linda Sanchez, she was somebody we had to lobby really hard to get her to support the single payer bill federally. I don't know about her record otherwise, but I will tell you that some other progressive groups are endorsing someone named Michael Tolar, Tolar. So if you live in 38, you may want to take a look at that. 39, progressive groups seem to like Gil Cisneros. You know, he was a Republican and he came in 2018. People are liking him. I don't know. I don't know if anybody's running against him. So I'm not going to make a recommendation. In 40, Lucille Roybal Allard. She's meh, you know, I don't think she's horrible, but I don't think she's done anything good. So I'm endorsing Rodolfo Cortez, who is running against her for the second time. He is running as a Green and also Peace and Freedom. 43, I am supporting Maxine Waters, even though for 2 times now, I haven't been able to convince her to support Bernie, to endorse Bernie. I do like Maxine, anti-Maxine. I think she's been progressive. 44, even though I held a fundraiser for Nanette Barragan, I am not supporting her for re-election. I know some progressive groups are, but I know people in her district, and she has not been very good on a lot of the environmental issues. It's a very mixed record for her, and I know that she also co-sponsored the anti-BDS bill in Congress. So I am a no on Nanette Barragan. I don't know if anyone's running against her, but just to say that if I lived there, I would be leaving that blank if there were no progressive opponents. 47, I support Peter Matthews. I don't know Alan Lowenthal or his record, but I do know Peter. I've met him a number of times, and I think he's a solid progressive, and he's challenging her. So that is US Congress. Now, getting back to LA, before we get into state assembly and state senate, I endorse Holly Mitchell for supervisorial seat 2. Holly's been great. As I mentioned, we got her to do our anti-fracking bill back in 2013. Poverty is one of her major issues. Children in poverty is a major issue. She's been great on that. She's very strong. She led the Los Angeles coalition to come out against SB 50 this last time. I think that's why, that failed, because of her leadership. She's not great on charter schools. I haven't been able to get a clear position from her about charter schools, but she is good on the environment. She has promised to really highly regulate the Inglewood oil field, shut down Aliso Canyon. So I support her. In the 5th, there is Catherine Barger. Okay, she's the Republican woman. She's the only Republican of the 5 members of the city council. And, the LA Times endorsed her. They said that her opponents, who are Darrell Park and John Harabedian, do not have the experience necessary to run such a large supervisorial district. So, that was kind of a convincing argument. But then I put it out there on my Facebook page, is this woman really bad? And I got hit with a whole bunch of things about why she's really bad. So I am going to take the recommendation and go for Darrell Park. Some people are dual endorsing Darrell and John Harabedian, but based on the last thing I read, I'm going to go with Darrell Park. And at least we're going to force her into a runoff if we support one of these 2 opponents, and that way we could take another look at it come November. And then I guess Janice Hahn, is running for re-election, and she's been very good. I like Janice Hahn. So now, City Council, all the progressives are supporting Nithya Raman. 6 is Bill Heller. 8, people are kind of mixed on Marquise Dawson. I don't know. I heard he's been sort of a disappointment, but he's okay. I'm going to leave it for people in that district to say, who they support. I am 100% supporting Alra Vasquez in District 10 against Grace Yu and against Channing Martinez seemed good, but he was very limited, I think, in his issues. I think Alra has a lot more get up and go. She's running an excellent campaign. And she was I've known her since she was on the Sierra Club fighting fracking. And then she was a DWP commissioner. She is the reason why we got Eric Garcetti not to invest in 3 aging gas plants. And she did that, jeopardized her position as a DWP commissioner, for which she had to resign. And so I give her a lot of credit for that. And she is a very strong burner. 12, of course, Lorraine Lundquist. I supported her last time. Unfortunately, it's kind of a Republican district, and the oil companies gave to her opponent, John Lee, and the IBEW, the bad union, who lobbies against the Green New Deal, if you could believe it. They also supported the Republican opponent. This time, people think she may have a better shot because it's a presidential primary. More Democrats will be coming out, but we'll have to see. So if you want to see a good environmentalist, an environmental scientist, an environmental educator in that seat, I would say not only vote for Lorraine Lundquist, but go out and canvass for her. She really needs the help. And in 14, I am not supporting Kevin DeLeon. I did not support him for senator. I do not think he is a progressive. I think he's a little bit of a faux-gressive. He may have been better than Dianne Feinstein, but he still wasn't, progressive enough for me. And Cindy Otteson, Otteson, is somebody who I've been following, and I think she's good. And we can definitely, if we get enough support for her, the other groups are endorsing her, we can maybe make this into a runoff situation too, and look at it again in November. School board, I am supporting George McKenna for District 1, Scott Schmerlson for District 3, Jackie Goldberg, who was on my show, for District 5, and Patricia Castellanos in District 7. And these are all the LAUSD, the UTLA, I'm sorry, endorsed candidates. State Assembly, okay, 36 people are recommending Eric Olson. I don't know anything about that district. I don't know anything about him. He's just come up on some progressive guides. Dina Cervantes in 38, similar, a lot of progressive guides. 39, some people think Luz Rivas is good on immigration. Personally, I interviewed her when she was running 2 years ago for the first time. She won. She had charter school money. She had oil money. I don't think, I wouldn't vote for her. She didn't have a real knowledge about charter schools or some of the housing issues that were important to me. And I don't know if she's improved. I don't know what her voting record has been, but I don't think I would vote for her. But if people live in that district, which is in the Valley, please comment if you think I'm wrong. Some people are saying people should vote for Eric Holden. All I can tell you is I protested Eric Holden a year ago for supporting PG&E and being ready to introduce a bill to bail out PG&E. He takes a lot of oil money, like $80,000 worth of oil money. I would not be supporting Eric Holden. And again, if you were participating in this progressive guide that endorsed him, I really love to know your reasons why. In District 43, I support Laura Friedman. I've met her a number of times. I think she's great. She can't be bought. She got the most money from the Charter School Association, $2 million, and yet she voted in favor of all the bills that were anti-charter. So I support Laura Friedman. The environment is very important to her. It's her #1 issue. 44, everybody likes Jackie Irwin. I don't know her, but she's universally liked. 45, Jesse Gabriel, another one that I wouldn't support because he was running against my friend Ankur Patel. Also took charter money, oil money, not a progressive. He's running for re-election. I don't know if he has an opponent. This would be one that I would leave blank. Adrian Nazarian in 46, even though he was rude to me when I tried to ask him a question about how he would vote on a charter school bill. I have been assured by everyone I know that he is a good progressive, so I would vote for him in 46. 48, Blanca Rubio. I don't know anything about her. So anybody who knows anything about 48 can put in there. 49, some people are recommending Ed Chow, but the Feel the Burn Dem Club endorses Brian Messinas Perez. So I'm going to go with them because I know they do very good vetting. He is a corporate-free candidate. In 50, as I mentioned, I'm voting for to re-elect my state assemblyman, Richard Bloom. 51, Wendy Carrillo, absolutely no, negatory, forget about it. This is a fake burner who did not support Medicare for all. She did not support the housing cost to Hawkins. She takes money from charter schools. Bad news, she's, no way. I don't know. I think she probably has no opponents. That's why I don't see any progressive recommendation, but I definitely would not vote for her if I lived in 51. And I covered that ADEM election, and she, put together this slate of establishment candidates, which she tried to, muscle on through with busing people in from the senior center. And I just don't go for that stuff. 53, a couple of progressive groups don't like Miguel Santiago, but I love Miguel Santiago because he was a very strong advocate for our public banking bill. We would never have gotten that passed without his strong support and advocacy. So I do support re-electing Miguel Santiago, and I'm sure Trinity Tran would sing his praises if she were sitting beside me. 54, I do not like Sydney Kamlager Dove. She was Holly Mitchell's aide. I was supporting Stephen Dunwoody for that race 2 years ago. He didn't get enough signatures, but she is an oily Democrat. She's just like, Gibson and Autumn Burke and all these people that I don't support. I think they really sell out their community as far as progressive issues. And now I find out that she is the vice chair of Bloomberg's campaign here in California. So she is a negatory for me. In 54, progressives are endorsing her opponent, whose name is Tracy Jones. 55, someone named Rodriguez. I forgot to write the first name down. Don't know anything about him. People can make a decision on that one. 57, progressive groups are recommending a Vanessa Tyson. 58, they're recommending a Margaret Villa, Villa. 59, we're going to all support Reggie Jones Sawyer because he put forth one of those charter school bills that I was telling you about that was very good, required transparency, accountability, a lack of, closed up some of the conflict of interest rules, and he endorsed Bernie Sanders. So we like him. 62, we don't like Autumn Burke. I don't think she has an opponent because I don't see any progressive name here to ask you to vote for, but I wouldn't vote for her if I lived there. 63, Maria Estrada needs no introduction. She's running against Anthony Rendon, who held our single payer bill in the Rules Committee, who is not representing his community. And Maria is a fighter. She got like 42% of the vote last time. And I think if people support her, more people support her now, she may be able to have an upset, like an AOC style upset. So 63, Maria Estrada. 64, we do not like Mike Gibson. Mike Gibson is a big sellout, oily Dem, and bust people into the election, the ADEM election, like 4 years ago, and was funneling in people from a breakfast that he sponsored. No good. His progressive opponent is somebody by the name of Fatima Zubair, Zubair. And so people like her. I don't know anything about her, but if people did the research and they like her and she's on a couple of progressive guides, I would back them up. 66, Al Meritsucci. I know a lot of people, in his district, they're very disappointed with him. I don't know if he's bad enough to not vote for again. He just constantly disappoints them when they want him to stand strong for them. So I will leave it up to people like Melanie Cohn and Reggie Wong and Joe Galliani and other people in his district if they want to put in the comments whether they think people should vote for him or not. And then 70, I see somebody wrote in Patrick O'Donnell. I don't know who he is, if he's the incumbent or I think he's the incumbent. I know nothing about him. I don't see a progressive. Maybe he's running unopposed. State senator, these I really don't know very much about. 21, people are liking this guy, Kip Mueller, Mueller. In 23, people are recommending Abigail Medina. I've seen her name on a couple of guides. Portantino, Anthony Portantino, he was good on SB 50. He would have killed it in the Appropriations Committee, but I don't know. He's been in there a long time. He could be establishment. I don't see anybody really supporting him of the progressives. I see kind of a no recommendation or no endorsement. Same thing with Henry Stern. One progressive group liked him. One progressive group said no endorsement. And I do not think Henry Stern is great. I feel like he said some of the right things. When it really comes to shove, I don't think he did all he could to shut down Aliso Canyon, despite the fact that he had that bill that said they could not restart it until they figured out the root cause. I ran into him at the Buttigieg fundraiser the other night that I was politely escorted out of, even though I was not protesting. I was merely interviewing Pete supporters as to why they liked him. I saw him there and I'm like, Henry Stern, you like Buttigieg? And he said, absolutely. And then I asked him to come over and do an interview. And he told me that he had to escort his wife down to the table and that he would come back. And I waited for him and he never came back. So I wouldn't support Henry Stern. He would be like a vote that I would just not write it in. Because I have to really, when I vote for someone, I have to really like them. Or other people have to convince me that they're really good. So now Josh Newman seems to be getting the nod in 29. And Lena Gonzalez, people don't seem to like her. She's taken a lot of money from big oil. So I wouldn't vote for her. Stephen Bradford, a couple people liked him, but my experience with Steve Bradford going back to, as long as I can remember, is he is a sellout. He takes big money from oil and he votes very conservatively. In fact, I argued with him and Rod Wright at Kara Robbins' summer West LA Dem Club party. And after I talked to them for a half an hour, I said, you two guys ought to be Republicans. Why are you even Democrats? That conversation was so long ago, I can't remember what their positions were, but it caused me to say that to them, that's for sure. And also, he did try to kill community choice energy. We had to fight him. You can ask Eric Brooks about that. We had to fight him not 1 year, but 2 years on bills that would have killed community choice energy aggregation. So I feel like if some of these progressive groups that endorsed him knew about this, they might not be so willing to endorse him. Okay, so now I guess I'm to the county committees, central committee. So we'll start with 36. We're going to make a recommendation for the strong burners, Margaret Finstrom and Isaac Lieberman. They've been tireless volunteers for Bernie since 2015. And also on that slate is Wade Alexander, Ruth Sanchez, Jerry Vlock, and Gina Whipple. In 38, we have Steve Boyd, Stacy Fortner, Lynn Plambeck, Logan Smith, and Patty Sulpizio. Now, again, I don't know if all these people are burners. I know Logan, he's the only one I know there. And maybe I shouldn't recommend slates. So I'll just tell you who I know. I'll tell you the slate they're running on, and I will tell you who I know. Logan, I don't think, is supporting Bernie this time around. I was told that. In the 39th, we have Rohana Barden, who is a burner, Angelica Duenas, who I mentioned before, Amy Sue Fall, big burner, Robin Summers, and Sherry Lynn Trainer. I don't know Sherry Lynn, but that's who are recommended for 39 Central Committee. 51st, Stephen Gibson. Not only is he a burner, he is Bernie's staff. He's a field organizer. Todd Jones, of course, Field the Burn Dem Club. Jacinta Linky, Mindy Pfeiffer, Sean and Susie Abajian, and Jordan Vanini. I don't know those last four people, but I do know Stephen, Todd, and Jacinta. Strong candidates. In the 43rd, Jenny Chang, big burner, Angel Izzard, big burner, working for Bernie now. Nicholas James Billing, a fantastic activist with the Bernie Sanders Metro Squad and the Sunrise Movement. And I think Extinction Rebellion. Ingrid Gunnell, who I know from fighting charter schools. Summer Block Lizer, I don't know her. Linda Perez, I don't know her. 45th, Christine Marie Shimizu, who is part of the Bernie caroling with me. Jason Small, big burner, who became an elector for Bernie Sanders so that he could run as a certified write-in candidate 4 years ago in the general election. Betty Dumas Toto, who is very strong Medicare for All advocate and now also a Sanders field organizer. Christopher Manabe and Jessica Manabe, who were also in my Bernie caroling group, along with Michelle Verne, big Feel the Burn Dem Club, San Fernando Valley, and Rebecca Wolfensberger. Some of this name I don't know. In the 46, David Allen Hyman. I may have to look at some other lists here after I run through this, but this is just one thing that's all on one page, so it's easy for me. 48th, Dennis Resendez is a fantastic activist, big Bernie supporter, comes to all my fundraisers, supports all progressive causes. Lovely man, definitely got to vote for Dennis if you live in the 48th. 49th, Roshan Akula, big burner, Melissa Michelson, president of the Feel the Burn Club, and also a Bernie Sanders field organizer. Paul Cole Padilla, Feel the Burn Club. I think he's also running for city council in a community in this Pasadena area. And Elise Stepanian. See these other names that I don't know. I've got to double check. Sasha Renee Perez and Philip Mantione. I got to see if they're on the slate. So I'm going to double check that. I've already gone through the 50th. 51st, Ron Birnbaum, of course. Medicare for All, Doctors for Bernie. Janine Roan, and these guys were all on the ADEM slate, progressive ADEMs, where there was Hanky Panky. Janine Roan went up to Sacramento twice, to challenge that election where they bust in people from the senior center. And she's actually on the board of KPFK now. Tina Desiree Berg, phenomenal independent journalist. Jonathan Klein, Rabbi Klein, very progressive. And if you're like vegans, he's a vegan. Then I see these names, I don't know, Belinda Luck, Cliff Olin, and then Jessica Craven, who was also part of that ADEM slate. The 53rd, I see Connor Rohan and Jasmine Canick. All I know is Jasmine. I hope she supports Bernie Sanders, but I don't know. 54th is Gina Harris, and I know Gina, she was a Bernie delegate, very strong, she's a nurse. Connie Thomas, I don't know. Kin G-U-Y-E, she is a very big fracking activist. Ronnie Jane Solomon, also very progressive. And my friend Sarah Roos, I didn't even know she was running for county committee. She is one of the biggest people fighting charter schools here in Los Angeles. In the 57th, of course, burners, Roberto Alvarez, from going way back to 2015. Henry Huerta and his daughter Zenaida Huerta, they were delegates for Bernie. And then I see these names, I don't know, Cynthia Patino Talmich and Stephanie Terrazas. In the 59th, I see Delia Aceto, Arturo Flores, who I know, Kenia Lizette Nava Escarino, Julio Esperias, and Wendy Ruiz, who I also know. In the 62nd, Carolyn Fowler, she is fantastic, even though she supported Hillary and her daughter Dallas supported Bernie. Carolyn is, she works with George McKenna, very good for fighting charter schools. And she ran for secretary of the party. I think she might have had that election stolen from her. Kirsten Magnuson, who's big, Medicare for All in Los Angeles. Damian Petty, I don't know him. Cara Robin, friend of mine, president of the West LA Dem Club. I've known her since 2004. And Michelle Sutter, who is money in voters, money out, voters in. Very big money in politics activist. In the 63rd, we have Linda Bassett, my friend, who is Linda Teach on Facebook, Bernie delegate and former teacher, just retired. Maria Estrada, who of course we mentioned before, and Elizabeth Castillo, who is Tita Von something or another on Facebook. And they're very strong Berners. In the 64th, Joseph Pignon, who is a Bernie delegate, and Julian Berger, I don't know him. 66, Margie Hoyt, also a Bernie delegate, and these two names I don't know, Angelica Sherp and Chris Johnson. In the 70th, Carrie Scoville, who I know, very big in the California Democratic Party, progressive, the Blue Wave, along with Christopher Diwali, who's also running, and Christopher Robeson, who's running in the 70th, Ann Sullivan, Abigail Mejia, Andrew Swetlin, I know, very big progressive, active in Democratic Party politics, and Nadia Tushnet. And then there's a woman whose name is, and she's a Facebook friend of mine. I know her from fighting fracking. She was not endorsed by any of these progressives. I know her from fighting, not fracking, from fighting charter schools. And I did ask her if she was supporting Bernie. She said she doesn't know. She was supporting Kamala, which is kind of a red flag for me. But she also said that she supports Bernie Sanders' platform of Medicare for all, a ban on fracking, free public college, cancellation of all student debt, $15 an hour. She's willing to take another look at Bernie, but she doesn't like the fact that she feels that he pivots to class and doesn't address issues of race and racism. And I think I need to talk to her more about that, because I think he did take a big turn on that issue during his last campaign. So maybe I can make a convert. So take a look at Patrice Marshall McKenzie in District 41. I am for Measure R. I actually did signature gathering for Measure R. That is a criminal justice reform measure involving the Sheriff's Civilian Oversight Committee and rethinking the way we do incarceration. This is Patrice Culler's big initiative she's one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter. She was on MSNBC today, co-endorsing Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. Oh, and Proposition 13. I'm not sure about this. This is a bond measure, and they want $15 billion in general obligation bonds, which when you add the interest, the taxpayers are going to be paying over the term. It's $11 billion in interest, so it's a $26 billion bill. And it's for renovating schools, new construction of schools, career education and charter schools get some money. I'm not happy about that. And some money goes to the colleges doing testing on lead. They say that only $750 million can go for administration, that the money is going to be apportioned to high needs areas first. And high needs areas first. And that they will do labor agreements with unions. So basically, if you like bonds, if you don't mind bonds, going to Wall Street to raise money to finance something versus straight taxation, like a couple of people I talked to about this said, they just prefer straight taxation to pay for things. And I'm sure these people mean progressive taxation, which is more rich people would pay more. It's an interesting thing about bonds because it is generally a safe investment. And what's happened now for the last 10 years, the Fed has kept interest rates so low, like close to zero, that it's forcing everybody into the stock market. And that's why the stock market is so inflated, because there's nowhere for anybody to go. I remember 15 years ago, I was getting 7% on a CD. No, those days are over. I mean, basically, it's now 1.5% on a CD. So it forces people into the stock market, and it's also depressed the bond market. So I feel like a bond, at least if you're investing in something, you're investing in school buildings. So it's a way for somebody to get some kind of interest. And then I think it's a tax deduction if you invest in a municipal bond. But who knows with these tax deductions? If you have any questions that I didn't get to, any races that I inadvertently left out, any objections to my recommendations, feel free to use the comments. Those of you who are hanging on for my recommendations, I hope I didn't disappoint you. And happy voting and keep fighting.